We have Ted Myles, who's just another friend as well, who has come a long way from being a CFO and really addresses a number of things in the corporate development area for ACTC. Welcome to the pack.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time. I feel like I've been using the Terrapin model for a long time. I think several times a day I tell my kids to use your brain, so I really relate to this tagline they have. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about advanced cell technology. Once I get this working, we are a publicly traded company, so I have to talk about the cautionary statement about forward-looking statements. Some of the things I talk about may not come true. We're estimating to the best of our ability, so read these and move forward. Key investment or key really components of our company, advanced cell technology. There are a few things that we really focus on. The company has 3 clinical trials, and they're aimed at a very large unmet medical need in dry age-related macular degeneration. Sort of the engine of innovation within the company is world-class cell biology capabilities led by Dr. Lanza. He and his team developed our human embryonic stem cell RPE cells, and they've got many other things that they're working on constantly. As we innovate, we work very hard to protect our innovations. We've got a very strong IP estate and a very focused strategy on making sure we sustain our competitive advantage. And of course, we look to partner non-core assets so we can further fuel our advancement of our core assets. So in a graphical sense, we've got really the first 3 priorities of the company are our RPE programs. As I mentioned, 3 are in phase 1. We've got the MMD trial that we just got approval for. We'll be advancing that into phase 1 shortly. Other ocular programs will advance further and partner as opportunities come up. And the platelet program, we've shown some nice proof of concept in platelets. We look at that as really a government funding activity. And the mesenchymal stem cell activities, which I'm not going to talk much about today, tremendous, very promising, tremendous markets, very promising early results in animals. We'll look to pursue those, move them a little further down the path, and then look for partnering opportunities there. So the key programs are in the retina. Again, retinal, the RPE cells. We're focused on the back of the eye. The retinal, the RPE layers primary job is to protect the photoreceptors, provide nutrients. What happens over time as we get older, the RPE layer breaks down and the photoreceptors go through a period of damage and then dormancy, and then ultimately the photoreceptors die. This causes, the degeneration of this RPE layer causes these diseases that we're going after. Obviously, when your photoreceptors stop working, as goes your vision. So getting old is not fun. It's better than the alternative. We've got this disease increases in prevalence dramatically as you get older. On top of that, the news flash everyone knows is our population is getting older, and we have an aging population. What we see ultimately, there are currently 30 million AMD patients in the US and Europe. This is expected to grow to 45 million over the next 12 or 15 years. It's been said that macular degeneration is taking on aspects of an epidemic. So we look at the cell therapy for RPE. This is very achievable by a small company. ACT has about 40 employees based primarily in Marlborough, Massachusetts. We think we can really take this thing all the way to market ultimately. We've got a small dosage size, less than 200,000 cells. We've got the manufacturing facility in Marlborough, Mass. To address the entire market, we believe. The eye is immune privileged. It's an easy administration. It's a 90-second procedure done by vitreoretinal surgeons. These surgeries happen all the time. And in the eye, there's a lot of measuring equipment, so we can see the impact. Really, we can see everything down to the cellular level of the eye before the surgery and afterwards, so we can really understand the endpoints very clearly. And as I mentioned already, it's a very large market. So here's a little bit about the surgery. It's a 90-second outpatient surgery. We've performed about 30 of these to date, and it's been going quite well. Nice attribute about a company like ours, again, very small, but we are running our trials with some of the world's best surgeons. We've got, in the US, there are 5 highly regarded eye hospitals are widely regarded as being the top 5. 4 of them are involved in our trial directly. In Europe, Morsfield and Edinburgh are top European hospitals. This thought leadership is instrumental to us in helping us guide through the clinical trial process and ultimately to market. Phase 1, we saw some pretty impressive results. Obviously, the goal was no adverse events, and seeing the cells go in, graft, and persist in the eye. Some upside to that was we saw significant improvements in visual acuity in some cases, in many cases. This is sort of where we are so far. One note is our first patients were treated 2 years ago, and the improvements that they've realized are sustaining. So we're very excited about that. And a nod to our safety, the FDA recently gave us approval to treat a cohort of better vision patients, initially with terrible vision patients, if you will. Treating, sticking a needle in the back of the eyeball really wasn't a high-risk proposition because they were quite blind anyway. Going to better vision patients, the stakes are much higher. And in our trials to date, we've seen no adverse effects and tremendous safety opportunities. So we're treating those better vision patients currently. We think that's important because obviously safety is critical, but also it gives us the opportunity to expand our label ultimately. From a corporate standpoint, several significant milestones coming up in the last quarter of 2013 and throughout 2014 as we sort of graduate from phase 1 to phase 2. We expect that to happen in the middle of next year. And then, as I mentioned earlier, initiate the MMD trial early next year. So myopic macular degeneration, large market in Asia and also in the US. So we'll be enrolling that next year. So I spoke briefly about our IP position. We've got 190 patent applications and 40 or so issued patents. We're very fortunate to have our patent strategy be led. Our Director of Business Development is here today. Matt Vincent is trained as an IP lawyer. He helps sort of oversee this, and we're being very, very vigilant about making improvements, protecting those improvements, and making sure that we're able to sustain our leadership position. From a corporate standpoint, experienced and dedicated management team. The one open spot we've got is we're looking for an EVP of clinical development to help guide us as we get into phase 2 and really help manage the clinical trials and get us all the way through to market. And then the world-class board of directors. The board was recently overhauled over the past couple of years. Robert Langer, of course, has been involved with a lot of successful companies, provides a very good scientific and business voice, rounded out by Mike Heffernan, Greg Perry, Zohar, and Alan Shapiro. So, and of course, Gary Rabin, our CEO. So thank you very much for your time. I'll be around for questions if you have any.